Moments ago, a story unfolded on this racetrack that could have come from the pen of a Hollywood scriptwriter. This marked the return to competition of the three-time world champion Shelley Stanton, seriously injured in a horrifying accident over a year and a half ago. The legend of Top Fuel, the reigning world champion Don Garlits, was her competition. The luck of their qualifying efforts brought about the first round match, creating this pressure-packed moment.
How do you feel about racing Shelley the first time she's back?
That's a tough deal. It's tough for both of us. It's a lot of prestige on the line here. It'll make each of us do things that we might not normally do under normal circumstances. You know, that's looking at it from a sensible point of view. From the Cinderella side of it, it's just great for the fans. If Shelley wins a race, it'll be unbelievable. And, of course, if I win the race, it'll be beating a car that's qualified with a much lower ET than I did.
Well, I think it's the race that people wanted to see, and it's funny that it happened that way. It will be a good drag race, I can guarantee you that.
You're confident?
I'm confident. I'm sure that, you know, my car is, it sounded great, Steve. We put a second motor in it, motor that we had never run, hadn't even started, and it just pounded the ground. So I'm not going to make any mistakes, I'm sure of that.
You could feel the emotion in the air. The huge crowd's loyalties torn between the two biggest names in Top Fuel racing. Garlits gained a very slight advantage off the starting line, but Shelley quickly ran into problems, an oil leak, an engine explosion. The moment is over. Garlits won the race. Shelley uninjured in the tremendous explosion. As we look again, both drivers got a good start at the flash of the green light. But Garlits quickly pulled out a very slim lead. Shelley's car started spewing oil, causing a loss of traction, and Garlits moved further ahead. Shelley, never taking her foot off the accelerator pedal, lost all hopes of catching Garlits when the engine destroyed itself in a massive fireball. From a reverse ground level angle, the ball of flame that indicated the supercharger explosion leveled the top of the expensive racing engine.
Well, the disappointment for Shelley Stanton in failing to defeat Don Garlits is compounded by a very expensive engine explosion. First of all, I know your ears are ringing, but are you okay other than that?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just wonder where the blower went, that's all.
It's in a million pieces, unfortunately, all over the racetrack. It looked to be a good wheel-to-wheel race until the engine exploded.
Well, he was out on me. Not much. I didn't see any daylight, that's for sure. I used the lean-out button, and I thought that might pick it up, and he was out there.
Well, I have a feeling that this setback here will be overcome very quickly.
Oh, yeah, you learn by your mistakes, and we'll definitely learn why it happened and try not to have it happen again. But what can you do, Steve? That's welcome to drag racing.
We'll see you at Gainesville, I'm sure.
Sure will, thanks.
How ironic it is that her very first race since that horrible accident was against her longtime rival, Don Garlits.
The pressure of racing Shelley is off now. What do you think about the rest of this event?
Now we got to try to win this race. Do our best.
He's got a good shot at it.
The classic national event rivalry between Don Garlits and Shelley Stanton has now been contested 8 times. And for those of you that keep such records, the score is tied at 4-4, with Garlits winning the last 3 races. This most recent chapter of the Garlits versus Stanton story has just been written here at the L.A. County Fairgrounds at the 26th annual running of the Chief Auto Parts NHRA Winternationals. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and welcome to Pomona, California. The cloudy and cool weather has done little to dampen the enthusiasm of this giant crowd here to watch the kickoff of the 1986 championship drag racing season. As always, it is at this fabled racetrack that the tone for an entire season of racing is set. And as we have just seen, the lead story for 1986 and NHRA racing is the comeback of Shelley Stanton. For more on that story, let's join Steve Evans.
In Shelley Stanton's pits, David, things are just a little more subdued than they have been all weekend long, but still, hundreds, even thousands of fans gather around the pink car, just hoping for a look, a photograph, an autograph for motorsport's #1 lady. And until a few minutes ago, Shelley was seated in the car doing just exactly that, just for her fans. We'll have more on the incredible Shelley Stanton comeback story a little later on in our show. Right now, let's talk about the qualifying and racing action we have seen so far here at the Winternationals. The first major shot was fired yesterday by former world champion Joe Amato. A new world speed record, 269 miles an hour. Amato hopes to push into the 270s during eliminations today. Then came a barrage of 5:40 elapsed times, the most we've ever seen at any drag race. Still in competition, Darrell Gwynn with a 5:40, Gary Beck with a 5:41, Connie Kalitta 5:43, Joe Amato also in the 5:40s. It's going to be a war in Top Fuel. Well, as far as the funny cars are concerned, Kenny Bernstein, the world champion, is just sawing through this field so far. He has low elapsed time at 5:60 in the first round, and there really doesn't appear to be anybody to stop him unless it's John Force. That's the car Bernstein himself is most worried about. Pro Stock, last year only one man ran in the 750s, and that was Bob Glidden. In the first round of Pro Stock action here today, 7 cars were in the 750s, and it was Warren Johnson, number 2 in the world, racing Bob Glidden, number 1 in the world in that first round. Warren Johnson's brand new Oldsmobile Forenza, low ET, a 753.
Well, Steve, Glidden and Johnson, as always, a close race. The 1986 Winternationals are being brought to you by Goodyear. Goodyear tires and Goodyear service for more good years in your car. And by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. And by Citgo Motor Oil. Give your car the protection it needs. Ask for Citgo, the tough guys working for you. Back in the pits, Don Garlits and his crew hard at work, getting the car ready for round number 2 of Top Fuel Eliminator, coming up next at the Winternationals. Skies and threatening weather continue to prevail over Laverne, California, neighboring city to the Los Angeles County Fairgrounds, where the 26th annual running of the Chief Auto Parts Winternationals moves into round number 2 of Top Fuel Eliminator. 24-year-old Darrell Gwynn is in the lane nearest the camera. He is racing against a former Winternationals champion, Frank Bradley. It was back in 1976 that Bradley tasted victory here in Pomona, California, then a long dry spell until his win in 1984 at the Summer Nationals. Frank Bradley defeated Larry Minor in the first round of Top Fuel racing, while Darrell Gwynn defeated Jimmy King. Gwynn, out of Miami, Florida, one of the rising young stars in championship drag racing. He finished number 6 in the world last season. 3 times thus far in his short career, he has raced against the legend Don Garlits and has been defeated all 3 times. But now he has got to confront Frank Bradley in a side-by-side race measured over a quarter of a mile. A good start for Bradley. He's got the advantage. Gwynn closing quickly, and at the finish line, it's Gwynn that pulls it out by just a couple of feet. The elapsed time for Gwynn, 5.49 seconds. He was traveling over 258 miles an hour when he crossed the finish line. A happy young man is Darrell Gwynn as we go back in replay and see that great starting line job done by Frank Bradley. He has got a few feet advantage at this point, but in the middle of the course, the horsepower of Darrell Gwynn's car shows, and in the near lane, you see Gwynn crossing the finish line first.
Do you think you can get in the 530s, maybe become the world's quickest drag racer at 24 years of age?
Well, I got to thinking about that last round. That didn't even run through my mind when I rolled in this gate, but I'd like to win the race and run 530.
You might just do that.
Darrell Gwynn now past the second round into the semifinals, waiting for his crew to come get him, while back on the starting line, our next pair already into their burnout procedures. In the lane nearest the camera, the former world champion, this is Gary Beck, driving the car owned by Larry Minor. Beck out of Hemet, California, defeated the low qualifier Dick LaHaye in round number 1, and what a spectacular race. For LaHaye, he established a 5.40 in qualifying, a new track record, but got bit by the wheel stand bug. Look at the front wheels up off the ground. This is first round competition. He nears the center line, has to back out of it, and Beck goes on to win to earn the right to race against Connie Kalitta. Kalitta ran that sparkling 5:43 elapsed time in round 1 that Steve told us about as he defeated Don Durbin. Kalitta checking on Beck, making sure everything's okay as they head into the staging process. Light beams across the starting line allow the front wheels to roll in, indicating the cars are properly staged. When they're set, Starter Buster Couch will throw the switch. If it's a good start, it's green light in both lanes. Kalitta far lane, Beck in the near lane. And a great start for Kalitta. Smoking the tires is Beck, and Kalitta goes to the quarter mile, 5.52 seconds at over 253 miles an hour, moves him right into the semifinal. Back in qualifying with some outstanding performances, just too much horsepower. The racetrack could not hold the power of that 2,500 horsepower engine. The next pair pulling into the burnout box. That's nothing but a puddle of water that Gene Snow is rolling into. Why is it there? To allow the tires to break traction and start to smoke. Getting those tires hot and clean is the purpose of the burnout. His competition, the car of Big Daddy Don Garlits. Garlits not recording those outstanding 540s that the rest of the field seems to be able to muster. He defeated, of course, Shirley Muldowney in that first run with a 558, while Gene Snow had Ed Moore as his competition. Snow won that race with a 552. If you go on the basis of performance, you have to go with Snow from Fort Worth, Texas. But you never count out the man that has become the legend in Top Fuel racing, Big Daddy Don Garlits. For some 30 years out of his home base in Florida, Garlits has been the dominant force in Top Fuel racing. Snow smokes the tires, goes into a wheel stand, and it is Garlits, unchallenged at the finish line. His elapsed time, 5.58 seconds, and the luck of the draw continues the rivalry. It'll be Don Garlits against Darrell Gwynn in the semifinals. That rivalry almost as intense as the Garlits versus Muldowney. Here's the fastest driver in Top Fuel racing, Joe Amato. Drawing the thankless task of racing against the newest record holder is Earl Whiting. Whiting, owning the car for several years, moved into the driver's cockpit late last season, qualified in this very tough Top Fuel field at the Winternationals. In fact, this is the second quickest assembly of 16 Top Fuel dragsters in the history of the sport. And right at the top, in the number 3 position, was Joe Amato with a 5.47 second elapsed time. Let's go to Steve with Don Garlits.
You're approaching this rather conservatively, just kind of building?
I'm just taking it a run at a time.
I know.
Not one of my better days, but the car's still in the race.
Steve, you can never count Big Daddy out. Earl Whiting may be having problems, though, backing up after his burnout. They've moved him out of the racing service to the outside edge. Maybe something leaking from the engine. He'll need everything he's got as he races Joe Amato in this second round. Amato defeated Chris Karamessinis in the first round, while Whiting beat the former NFL quarterback Dan Pastorini. As they approach the starting line, problems continue for Whiting. The crew says no go. Shut the engine off. That gives a single run to Joe Amato. A tough break for Earl Whiting. His best day ever at an NHRA national event. Amato is now confronted with a decision. Do you run the car hard, trying to set a good low elapsed time and get lane choice in the next round, or do you back off and save the parts? Between the two competitors in the next round, the driver with the lowest elapsed time of the preceding race will get the choice of lanes. Amato carries it all the way through, runs a 5.46 second elapsed time, but look, he's got problems. The shroud line on the parachute breaks, causing it to stream. Amato going off course. There's lots of room here at the L.A. County Fairgrounds, and he brings that speeding rocket ship to a safe stop. Joe Amato, Connie Kalitta in the semifinals. Amato earning lane choice on that run. And the matchup everybody's wanting to see for the 4th time in the last 12 months. Darrell Gwynn will race Don Garlits, and Gwynn has the lane choice. We'll be right back to the winter. Pomona, California. Work goes on in Connie Kalitta's pit area, preparing his car for the semifinal round matchup with Joe Amato. You might recall it was just moments ago that Amato had a wild ride off this race course. Steve Evans has caught up with him.
Well, Joe Amato, this is a Top Fuel dragster, not an off-road car.
Steve, it was a wild ride. It's a brand new parachute. I guess we're just putting a little bit of taxing because of the speed we're doing, and it tore a shroud light on it. You know, it was bouncing down there too. They're pretty good, but we got it stopped.
Well, you knew if you put it in the net, you were done for the day.
Yeah, I know. That's why we didn't want to hit that net. And whatever it took, I was going to drive it back to return road if I had it to get it stopped here.
Well, if he did, Steve, he'd be into road racing. Here is Funny Car Eliminator, and here's Kenny Bernstein. The reigning world champion, winner of 6 NHRA national event titles last season, defeated Rick Johnson in round number 1. This race, he is matched against John Martin, who defeated Brad Tuttle in the first round of racing. On the starting line, John Martin has his work cut out for him because he is against the car that is on the leading edge of technology. Bernstein's crew chief, Dale Armstrong, regarded by many as one of the most innovative men ever.
Kenny Bernstein was the first to wind tunnel test his funny cars, the first to perfect onboard computer science, the first to hide some of his speed secrets under a dirty towel, and for 86, the latest trick from crew chief Dale Armstrong, 3 magnetos. Count them, 1, 2, 3. 3 magnetos means 3 spark plugs per cylinder, right? Correct. 2 of them in the conventional location developed by Chrysler Corporation many years ago for racing purposes. The third one, a little harder to see. It's down under the exhaust header. Let me show you in detail how that works. Now, this concept is only possible using a solid aluminum billet cylinder head because there are no water jackets to get in the way. Now, here's the usual 2 spark plugs per cylinder on a funny car. Now, the third spark plug, as I said, has been added by Armstrong right here, just underneath the exhaust port. Now, by flipping the head over yet again, we can see the hemispherical combustion chamber here. The usual 2 spark plugs on either side. Now, just underneath the valve here is that third spark plug. So it just figures you've got better combustion with 3 spark plugs. So much better, they have been able to back off the ignition lead. In other words, the spark plug fires before top dead center of the piston. Usually maybe 70 degrees. It's now down to about 45 degrees, meaning the engine runs much easier. The only problem they had in testing this combination, the engine is now so thirsty for fuel, they almost ran the tank dry.
Bernstein has been one of the most consistent racers on this racetrack. #1 qualifier, he ran 5:62 in qualifying, 5:60 in the first round. Martin is out close to the guardrail. He has to shut it off, but Bernstein continues through, and there another 5.60 second elapsed time. His speed over 252 miles an hour as the #1 qualifier, the world champion, goes into the semifinals. Bernstein and Armstrong are most concerned about this car, the Corvette driven by John Force. Qualifying in the #2 spot, Force, along with his highly paid and talented crew chief, Austin Coyle, beat Ray Higley in round #1. They were to have run Ron Corretti, but in a late afternoon qualifying session yesterday, Corretti in the far lane was against Dave Yahara. Yahara drifted across the center line into the center line lights, and then a rear-end collision at over 240 miles an hour. Both cars were essentially destroyed in this horrendous accident, but as we have seen so many times before in NHRA championship drag racing, both drivers emerged from the wreckage unhurt.
Well, as fine a race car driver as Dave Yahara is, I have a feeling that whatever happened to his car, he probably had no control over it.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't his fault. He said he thought he hit a light down and then it just threw him over the other way.
In fact, Dave Yahara, Dave, I know that when you got out of your car, you were more concerned about Ron's condition than your own.
I felt fine. I was just concerned about Ron.
Do you know what happened?
The car started drifting. Right coming into the first light, I hit the parachutes, and apparently I hit the first light, and that's what sucked me right over the other lane.
So the throttle didn't stick or anything like that?
I believe it was stuck a little bit because I was trying to get off the thing, and it just kept on going. That's when I went for the parachutes, and it hit the first light, and I think that's what sucked it right over there.
Steve, race cars can be rebuilt, but the fact that both drivers emerged unhurt is a tribute to the safety requirements in this sport. On the starting line, John Force in the near lane is racing Mike Dunn. Dunn is driving the car that won this Winternationals event 1 year ago with Al Segrini at the wheel. In round #1, he defeated Billy Meyer. Mike Dunn, John Force, second round of racing in Funny Car Eliminator. Force is following in the tracks of Kenny Bernstein, who just recorded low elapsed time at 5.60 seconds. Dunn, the new driver for Joe Pisano, trying to make it 2 Winternationals wins in a row. He's got the advantage off the starting line, but look at Force thunder by. At the finish line, John Force, 5.75 seconds. The speed on the Corvette, 252 miles an hour. Let's go to Steve with Kenny Bernstein.
Is it as exciting beginning a new season wearing the #1 as it was trying to get it last year?
Oh, yeah, it certainly is. I mean, the #1 means a whole lot to you, needless to say. But it's a whole new year, and you got a whole new battle to fight. Another 14 NHRA Winston races to go for, so it's a brand new season, and it's all over. It's starting again.
Well, 2 more win lights, and this one is yours.
We'd love it.
Kenny has quite a mark to shoot for, those 6 event wins in 1 season. Back at the starting line, the next pair, the engines fired, the burnout's underway. This the car owned by Roland Leong, now driven by Johnny West. His competition, Dale Baldy. Let's go to Steve with John Force.
Well, John, Mike Dunn was right on those lights. It looked like they had to pick him up half-track.
He was hot. We were running just a shade ahead of Dunn, and I kind of tried to, I seen Bernstein spin the tire out there and still run a 60, and I thought, Coyle's got the horsepower in this thing. I can drive it off. And old Dunn, he just kind of stung me there a little bit, and she went out, had the front end up, and I saw the center line. I thought I was going to ram him. I pedaled her a little, and she sat down, and she cleaned up, and horsepower saved me there, buddy.
575.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Can you run quicker to challenge Bernstein if you have to?
No doubt about it. We're just trying to get a couple of laps in here to get this thing where it'll ET, and she'll run 60s. We know that, but when Bernstein spun him, there was no way I was going to put her to the wood here and blaze the tires and get beat up when this round was over. No way.
And obviously elated John Force will be watching for his prediction when he comes up in the semifinals. Johnny West in the far lane, the newest driver for Roland Leong against Dale Paulding. Paulding in round number 1 had a barrel full of excitement as he raced against Ed McCulloch. It was a good race off the starting line. McCulloch in the near lane, driving the Oldsmobile owned by Larry Minor against the Buick of Paulding. Watch what happens. Paulding way out in front as they approach the finish line, and then a tremendous explosion for Ed McCulloch. Incredibly, he was able to bring the remains of the car to a safe stop.
When you see the video, I think you'll be amazed at how hard you were driving that car in that inferno.
Well, the main thing, I mean, I knew that Paulding was alongside somewhere. I knew the guardrail was on the other somewhere, you know, and anything in between, I was trying to stay away from both of them. I left my visor down until the flame went out, and obviously it was, you know, oiled and burnt, and I couldn't see, and finally I lifted the visor up enough that I could see where I was going, and then, you know, at that point I knew I was going to be okay.
The experience of Ed McCulloch paid off in this instance as he, with a brilliant driving job, brought that bouncing, sliding, burning car to a safe stop. Dale Paulding goes on to take the win, advances to the second round, and is now against Johnny West. West, a year ago, was racing his own car. Now, in the cockpit of one of the finest funny cars in the country, he defeated Trip Shoemake in round number 1. Johnny West will be in the lane furthest from our camera. In the near lane is Paulding. A tremendous amount of pressure has got to be riding on the shoulders of Johnny West. Leong, the car owner, one of the best engine builders in the country. West qualified well, ran well in defeating Shoemake, but this his first major event competition at the wheel of a car of this caliber. West is out in front. He's done his job. He gets near the center line. He crosses it. Automatic disqualification for West. Paulding wins the race. A fine 5.77 second elapsed time. His speed only 244 miles an hour. So Dale Paulding goes into the semifinals. Our last pair of cars in the second round finds the Pontiac Trans Am-bodied car of Tim Grose in the near lane. Grose is racing against a former Californian, now living in Oklahoma. This is John Collins. Collins won his first ever NHRA championship last season when he won the Fall Nationals title, but here he qualified with a 5.67, almost a tenth of a second quicker than Tim Grose. Grose defeated John Lombardo in the first round of competition, while John Collins took on the Corvette of Tom Hoover and came out the winner. Collins fell off his qualifying pace just a bit in the first round, but Tim Grose improved over his qualifying time. He may be one to watch in Funny Car Eliminator. Grose in the near lane, Collins in the far lane. It's a green light start. Grose builds an early lead. He continues to extend it. And across the finish line, Tim Grose continues to improve. A brilliant 5.68 second elapsed time, 246 miles an hour. He's right down with the best of them. He's going to be meeting the world champion, Kenny Bernstein, in the semifinals. Bernstein with lane choice, while in the other matchup, it'll be John Force against Dale Paulding. Force having lane choice. We'll be coming right back to the Winternationals in Pomona, California. Back at the starting line in Pomona, California at the Winternationals, Joe Amato in the near lane, the fastest driver in the history of drag racing, against Connie Kalitta, the winner to go into the final. That final few inches into the staging beams completed. A green light start. It is Kalitta with a slight advantage. A tremendously close race, and at the finish line by less than half a car length, Connie Kalitta goes into the finals of the Winternationals. 5.54 seconds. Look at his speed, over 265 miles an hour. In replay, we see the advantage built up by Kalitta as he gets the whole shot off the starting line. That means he left just a little bit in front of Joe Amato. He kept those front wheels out there, out in front, all the way to the finish line. The elapsed time for Kalitta, 5.54 seconds. For Amato, 5.59, 5/100ths of a second separating the two drivers as they cross the finish line.
Joe Amato says to Connie Kalitta, good race, and boy, it was. 5:54, 5:59. Connie, great job.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a fun old race. The car shook the tires really hard, but it had enough to do it.
I heard you tell Joe that, and that blurs your vision, just it worries you.
The whole racetrack disappeared from me, Steve. It's one of the hardest it's really shooken. In fact, when I was able to see the racetrack again, I guess I was over towards the center line on the thing.
Who do you think you're going to race in the final? Could it be the kid or the old man?
I think it's going to be the kid.
He's in the driver's seat for the first time.
Yeah, he is. We'll see. You know, let's see. And he usually hunches up when he races Dunn, but we'll see.
He hunches up?
Yeah, Don's off, and so is he a little bit. It's hard telling what it is.
Let's go back to the starting line and find out.
Steve, this Garlits-Gwynn rivalry is rapidly developing into one of the most intense in the sport. It carried through last season when they raced each other 3 times. One of the most important was the finals of Top Fuel at the U.S. Nationals. Garlits in the lane nearest the camera, Gwynn striking the tires when the engine sprang an oil leak, and it was Garlits winning the race as he did all 3 matchups last season. This time, though, Garlits is the underdog as Gwynn has got the better elapsed time. Top Fuel racing is incredibly intense. How intense? Well, young Darrell Gwynn has developed an ulcer since he moved up from the sportsman category a couple of years ago. He was a world champion at the wheel of a top alcohol dragster. Now he is the favorite against Don Garlits in the semifinals at the Winternationals. And Garlits has problems. The car slows, and Gwynn to the finish line. Nobody's alongside of him, and Darrell Gwynn wins the race. 5.45 seconds. His speed, 256 miles an hour. Look at him give himself a round of applause. And for Don Garlits, what a disappointment this has to be as he coasts his car down to the shutoff area. In replay, you see Garlits in the far lane instantly losing power. The car unable to proceed. He loses.
Well, Darrell Gwynn, for the 3rd time in his young career, will go into the final round, but this time Don Garlits won't be there. You already took care of that business.
Yes, I did. I've been runner-up to him many a times, and runner-up just don't cut it anymore, and I'm pretty serious about winning this thing. I just can't say enough. I'm very happy. We haven't heard apart all weekend. The crew's done an excellent job.
Let me tell you something that's going to salve that ulcer you're starting to grow. 5:45 gives you lane choice.
Well, there again.
You're thrilled, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I can't even hardly talk. I tell you,
And I'm not going to make you. We'll see you down here in just a short time. You might win this whole thing.
Thank you very much.
That man's pumped.
Steve, the emotion showing on the face and in the voice of Darrell Gwynn as he goes into the final against the veteran Connie Kalitta. Gwynn having the lane choice. Under darkening skies at the Winternationals, work goes on in Kenny Bernstein's pit area as we get set for the semi. Work underway, preparing the car of Connie Kalitta for the Top Fuel final. Let's go to Steve Evans with Don Garlits.
Some months ago, I was talking to Big Daddy and said, you know, the more I race that kid Darrell Gwynn, the more the odds are in his favor, and they just kind of bit you today.
Yes, they were. He's running real good. He could win this race, and I wish him the best. We just had a little driveline disconnect.
Garlits, the veteran, out of competition. This, the semifinal round of Funny Car Eliminator. Along with Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClellan, and that man is Dale Armstrong, regarded by many as the most creative and innovative crew chief in all of nitro fuel burning racing. He is the crew chief for Kenny Bernstein in the near lane. Tim Grose, the rapidly improving young driver from Saugus, California, is in the far lane. Bernstein's got to be regarded as the favorite. He has run 3:5:60 elapsed time to reach this point. The final staging procedures, a good start, and Bernstein smokes the tires. Losing traction, Bernstein falls behind, and across the finish line goes Tim Grose. Look at his elapsed time, 5.61 seconds, 241 51 miles an hour, relatively slow, but the elapsed time was excellent. In replay, you can watch exactly what happened. When Bernstein left the starting line in the near lane, the tires started smoking almost immediately. At that point, Grose had nearly a car length lead. By the time they got to the finish, it was several car lengths. The huge crowd responds with an overwhelming ovation.
I can feel it in his pit area. Before this semifinal run, Tim Grose, you were full of confidence, and deservedly so.
Thanks, Steven. It felt pretty decent, but the car shook hard and a lot of clutch dust and all that, and I got distracted when that red car disappeared so fast near the starting line. I assumed something happened to him.
You smoked the tires. You ran a 561.
Oh, my God, all right! Oh, I hope she looks as good as it did last pass, because we're ready.
All right, Tim Grose, do I have to tell you he's excited? I don't think so.
Steve, how do you make a driver happy in drag racing? Tell him about a good elapsed time. Dale Poldy is in the near lane. He has watched Kenny Bernstein smoke the tires. There's the man that Bernstein was most concerned about, John Force. Force has taken the lane that has just recorded a 5.61 elapsed time for Tim Grose. Can he duplicate it? His crew chief, Austin Coyle, has dialed in some horsepower. You can bet on that. Following the directions of Coyle is Force as they approach that imaginary line across the racetrack made up of the multiple light beams, which is the starting line. In the near lane, the Buick Somerset Regal of Dale Poldy. This car capable of speeds well over 260 miles an hour. Who's going to be in the finals? Force has got the advantage, smoking tires for Poldy, and John Force, uncontested, moves into the finals to race against Tim Grose. 5.75 seconds, 255 miles an hour. The lane choice and the favorites role has got to go to Grose. That right-hand lane causing problems first for Bernstein, and now for Poldy. You see it happening again. It's almost a repeat. The colors of the cars change. The tire smoke indicating that loss of traction. That took the race away from Poldy and gave it to Force.
John Force, you're going to get another shot at that elusive final round, this time against Tim Grose.
Well, what can you say? People laughed at me when I hired Cole because I was spending that kind of money, most of my budget, and I said it'd pay off, and we went around and around about a gear change down there, but he said the track don't appear to be there, and then Grose pulled out that 60, and Bernstein smoked the tires, and thank God for the gear change, because you can see it worked and it ran just as quick.
Indeed, but maybe some attention is going to be paid to the clutch this next one, because you do not have lane choice.
Well, that was more a tune-up run, believe it or not, on a clutch, and the track's good, and if I can give him some help with the motor and the driving end of it, we're way overdue, Steve. You know it. It's been coming in 100 years.
Absolutely.
Say,
seems like 200.
Steve, never yet has John Force won an NHRA national event title. Tim Grose took his first last season when he won the Keystone Nationals. In this Winternationals final, it'll be Grose against Force, with Grose having the lane choice. We'll be coming right back to the Winternationals. Starting to close in on the 26th annual Chief Auto Parts Winternationals as we're set for the finals of Pro Stock Eliminator. In the far lane will be the Ford Thunderbird of Frank Iaconio. In the near lane is competition, driving a brand new Oldsmobile Forenza race car, is Warren Johnson. Earlier, we saw Johnson defeat Bob Glidden, the world champion, in round number 1. In the semifinals, he defeated Nick Nicholas from Jackson Heights, New York. Frank Iaconio from Totowa, New Jersey, had an easy go of it in the semifinals. He was paired against Butch Leal. Leal drew the big red light, leaving the starting line too soon, automatically disqualifying him and putting Iaconio in the finals. These the true factory hot rods. 500 cubic inch engines, 2 4-barrel carburetors running on racing gasoline, 2,350 pounds in weight, including the driver, and Johnson near the center line has to back out of it. Iaconio heads to the finish line with a Ford Thunderbird and takes the win. His elapsed time, a 7:56. His speed over 185 miles an hour. In replay, you see the wheel standing start from these hot rods. And look at Johnson. He gets very close to the center line and has to lift.
Now, this is always a quiet man from New Jersey, but I think we'll get a little animation out of him now. At 7:56, I'll tell you, about half the people in this place had just given that race to Warren not to be.
Yeah, he was running good though, Steve. I mean, he ran 7:53 twice, I think. The track's was a little fluky because of the weather, I think, and it was just a matter of who got down the track the best. I had a lot of trouble. We changed some stuff for the final, just because we were like a tenth slower than Warren, and it worked. The car went straight.
The Pro Stock champion, Frank Iaconio, his first win since October of 1983. Here's the Top Fuel final. The young Charger Darrell Gwynn in the far lane. The veteran Connie Kalitta in the near lane. It was nearly 20 years ago that Connie Kalitta won this Winternationals championship back in 1967. Darrell Gwynn has yet to win a Top Fuel title. His is a family operation. His father builds the engine, serves his crew chief. His mother fixes the food for lunch. And his fiancée, Shelley Stanton, packs his parachute.
Well, Shelley, I guess you know it's love when your fiancé lets you pack his parachute.
Yeah, he doesn't have much time to do it himself.
You young kids have been looking forward to a win at one of these big races a long time. You going to get it today?
Hopefully. I hope. I'm praying for it.
You know, I asked Darrell when you guys were going to set a wedding date. He said, well, when we get a sponsor, and he just kind of laughed. I wonder if winning all this money might help.
I hope. That's what he says. He's been telling me if he gets a sponsor and everything, but I don't think just this race. You need more than that to live on.
Some $25,000 in cash and awards riding on this single race between Darrell Gwynn in the far lane, the bounty hunter Kalitta in the near lane. A green light for both drivers, and it is Gwynn out in front early. And to the finish line, you can see Darrell Gwynn carries it all the way through and wins his first ever NHRA National Event title. His hand is in the air. Darrell Gwynn gives himself another round of applause as we watch again. It was a brilliant start by Gwynn, and instantly his car responded and pulled nearly a car-length lead over the veteran Connie Kalitta. At this point, horsepower made the difference, and Gwynn wins.
Well, you've heard us all say it. Myself, Don Garlits, anybody that knows anything about drag racing, that a win was going to come soon for this young man, Darrell Gwynn. Congratulations, 546 did it.
Thank you very much, Steve. Them runner-ups, I tell you, they just don't cut it. It's nothing like a win. I'm here to tell you, this is nothing like I've ever experienced. I've won 10 national events in the alcohol car, but the king of the sport, Top Fuel, here we are.
You know, people ask me, how does the Gwynn family do it? They don't have big sponsors, a teenage crew, mom's in there making lunches. How do you do it?
Well, as far as we're concerned, we kind of got things back down today. We didn't figure the car would run as good as it did. We just couldn't afford to hurt a bunch of parts, and thank God here we are in the winner's circle.
A great win for the entire Gwynn family. A cloud of clutch dust emanates from the bell housing of Tim Grose's race car. That's what remains of those slider clutch discs after that dramatic win over Kenny Bernstein. Grose will go into the finals against John Force coming up next at the Winternationals. The Chief Auto Parts Winternationals. The Top Fuel champion, Darrell Gwynn, gives his dad, Jerry Gwynn, a big hug. Then a crew member, his mother, and Shelley Stanton, his fiancée, on hand to congratulate Darrell after his big victory. At the starting line, it's dark. You've heard of dancing in the dark? We call this racing in the dark. This is Tim Grose. He has got the favorite role coming into the finals. He had a 5.61 second elapsed time in the semifinals when he defeated the favorite, the pre-race favorite and low qualifier, Kenny Bernstein. John Force won his race when Dale Poldy smoked the tires off the starting line. But Force has yet to be able to develop those 5.60 elapsed times that have become so prevalent during competition at this Winternationals. His run in the semifinals netted him only a 5.75 second elapsed time. And here in the finals, with Grose having lane choice, that puts Force in the lane nearest the camera. And that's the lane that has been causing traction problems for the funny cars throughout the late afternoon hours. The darkening skies providing a brilliant light show for this huge crowd still on hand here at the L.A. County Fairgrounds as those header flames stand tall alongside these race cars. Some problems maybe for Tim Grose, the starting line official holding him back. Barbara Hogan, his crew chief, also saying, don't move that car. Back at the back of the car, they're working on something. It could be either the wheelie bars, it could be reattaching the parachute shroud lines. It's very difficult to tell. One of the problems is it has gotten so dark, it is difficult for our cameras to tell exactly what's going on. But apparently, everything's okay. The crew member's out from underneath the car. The starting line official goes back, checks it. He says, okay, bring it to the starting line. Tim Grose cleans the engine out. John Force has been waiting. The darkening skies adding even more pressure to these two drivers. Force trying to win his first ever major NHRA championship victory. Grose is going for his second. He won his first only last season. The lights across the starting line, highlighting the polished wheels, the works of art that have become funny cars in NHRA Championship drag racing competition. A slow staging process. They both make that final move forward. It's a good start. Grose is out in front, fourth in hot pursuit. At the finish line, Grose shuts it off early but wins the race. Tim Grose wins it. His elapsed time, 5.69 seconds. His speed, only 236 miles an hour. But Tim Grose holds on to the finish line and wins the race. In replay, you can see the flames coming out of the headers. Watch them on Tim Grose's car. It will show you exactly how early he shuts that motor off. It happens right there before the first timing light. Tim Grose wins.
Tim Grose wins his second NHRA national event title, but this time, unlike the last time, the engine's all together, you're not on fire, everything's perfect.
This is probably one of the most exciting moments of my life, but yeah, what a distraction. I staged the car up and my goggles were totally fogged. I left the starting line, and well, I know this probably isn't kosher for the rules, and I had to rip my goggles off my face before I could shift it so I could see where I was going.
Desperate men do desperate things.
And then when I got near the lights, of course, there was so much flying around the cockpit and all that clutch dust, I had problems seeing, and I heard him go by me, and I didn't know if I was at the finish line or what. I guess we won her, though.
I guess you did, Tim. Our congratulations to all the Winternationals champions. For Steve Evans, this is Dave McClellan saying so long from the Winternationals in Pomona, California. The executive producer of Diamond P Sports is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. The 1986 Winternationals has been brought to you by Ford. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Motorcraft. Quality products for all makes of cars and trucks. Motorcraft exceeds the need. And by Goodyear. Goodyear tires and Goodyear service for more good years in your car. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by Clubman for men who express their sense of style and sense of self in the sense they choose to wear clean, classic, masculine scent and fine toiletries and grooming aid. Clubman. And by Persona, tough guy personified. Howie Long, how do you get a smooth shave that's not tough on your wallet? Get personified. Get Persona. And by Bushnell, Bosch & Lomb Compact Binoculars, one of the first names in sports optics. Waterproof, fog-proof, and center focus enables you to get closer to the action. Furnished by Bushnell. And by Minwax. Minwax, America's favorite wood finishes. Minwax makes it easy to get professional results. Bring out the beauty with wood finishing products by Minwax. Coverage of the 1986 NHRA Winternationals has been a presentation of Diamond P Sports.